and welcome to our members and friends of IWFCI to another IWFCI Uncertain Times series. Now, this is the second live stream in our series, and today's topic is COVID frontline survivors, where we're going to be speaking with rural entrepreneurs from across different industries from rural Australia, who will be sharing their stories on how they faced challenges head on, along with the decisions that they made, which made a significant difference in adapting and advancing their business. Now, before we get into our speaker panel, it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to IWFCI founder and international chair, Diana Abruzzi, who will be speaking to us about the mental attitude of an entrepreneur. So welcome, Diana.
Thank you, Anne-Marie, and good morning, everyone. You know, as I reflect over the years in my capacity as the IWFCI chair, I've been privileged to have had the opportunity to talk with so many women, from the very poor to the affluent, from many, many nations. And I've never ceased to be amazed at these growing number of women-owned, operated SME entrepreneurs, with their ability at finding niche markets coupled with their creativeness, passion and drive. And, you know, it's no wonder the Australian government is now urging the support of entrepreneurs and innovators as a vital component to rebuilding the Australian economy. So, to understand the mind of these wonderful entrepreneurial men and women of our country that our Prime Minister is crying out for, who have taken something from nothing and made something of it. You know, entrepreneurs are mostly driven to do something they are passionate about, to create something new. And I found my work over these many years, these same women had the same spirit of enterprise and have the same potential and power to transform our nation and communities, and that is what our nation needs more of. You know, entrepreneurs have an instinct or a gut feeling as to whether an idea has a commercial viability. And, you know, no textbook case could verify that women do not have inbuilt instincts far stronger than men. I don't claim entrepreneurs are heroes, angels, or even saints, but I do believe they are the indispensable agents of change, growth, and improvement in a free society. They're unconventional and unreasonable, and they are the almost always driven individuals who drive and inspire others. They are driven by many things: a willingness to risk, a restlessness, problem-solving energy, an ability to live with uncertainty, a determination to prove skeptics wrong, and a relentless persistence in the face of seeming failure. That is probably one of the most vital parts of their DNA. There's so much more to this subject when entrepreneurs are pursuing a worthwhile goal. In the areas of handling disappointments, how they adopted a won't quit mindset, and using their emotional intelligence, which played a huge role in their success. But right now, we have 5 amazing entrepreneurial women with us today who are going to share their story with us today. So I will now hand you back to Anne-Marie, and I'm listening with great interest to all your stories.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much, Diana. And so our very first speaker is Carrie Anderson. I'll introduce you to you in a moment. Now, she is the author of Australian Rural Entrepreneurs, whose book captures many of the wonderful stories from rural entrepreneurs. Some of them you will hear today. So let's welcome Kerry to the floor. Welcome, Kerry. The floor is.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for that warm welcome. I'd like to say that I'm an entrepreneur, but actually I think I'm just a very good business person, but I love entrepreneurs, and it's an interest of mine since I started traveling around rural towns in Australia with my work. In fact, encouraging entrepreneurs and the importance of diversifying our towns, whether they're all agricultural or mining. And in these travels, I've started hearing about wonderful businesses. Someone always says, oh, you should go out and visit such and such, or this person's doing a wonderful job with a great little business. You know, the word entrepreneur does generate a lot of conversation wherever I go. But why is it important? It's important for us to get over this tall poppy syndrome and start shining a light on successful businesses doing wonderful things out in rural Australia, because entrepreneurs, business people tend to put their head down working hard. They don't like to, blow their own horn, so to speak. So I figured that's something I can do. So every town I go to, I'll write a story on someone that I've visited. So after 6 years of writing stories, hundreds of interviews, I decided that it was time to put it together in a book. It was actually my second book. So as Anne-Marie said, this is the latest book featuring 50 stories from my travels. So I actually finished writing it, putting it together just as the 2019-20 bushfires hit. And I thought I better do a ring around after Christmas and just see how everyone is travelling. So I made 50 phone calls, and it was lovely catching up with people. Some I hadn't met for a few years, others I'm constantly in touch with. So I packaged it all up nicely, got it off to the publisher in February 2020. And what happened in February 2020? Something important happened in February 2020. Yes, we had a worldwide pandemic. And the publisher, who was over in Adelaide, rang me up and said, Kerry, you might like to revisit your book given what's happened in the business world now. This is just terrible. We're all shut down. It's horrific. And I said to him, well, actually, I've already written the book for a pandemic. I didn't say the word pandemic, but it was talking about the need for businesses to be agile, adaptable, to not to be complacent, to how we all adapt, whether it's drought or fire or floods. We'll just add pandemic to the list. So I did take the opportunity. Everyone, when you think back, we were all in a bit of a shock when it first hit. We were scared, we were uncertain, we really didn't know what was happening. We thought, oh, it'll just be a week or two. We had no real idea of what was going to happen into the future. So I thought I will take the opportunity to touch base with a few of the businesses and get around them just to see how they are tracking. And I was also watching the data at the time in the economic development. There was a survey done by Remplan of businesses here in Australia, and they asked in April, so we were a few months into the pandemic, they said, is it possible to adapt your business? And 33% said no, it was impossible to adapt their business in April. When they were resurveyed in June, 17% said it wasn't possible. So there was a shift as time went on. And I think that, we all had to adapt and decide what are we going to do with that. So I did, take the opportunity to check in with those people with, this in mind. So obviously retail was pretty hard hit because that was closed down. And of course, we're talking from Victoria, that has been very rigid in its restrictions. And the smart ones, that I talk to, they use the time for renovations or planning or just a bit of time off. Family sometimes or health was really important as well. There were considerations. There were individuals that said, we're just closing down, we're protecting our family and our health. Hospitality, well, a lot did adapt to takeaway, but once again, it came down to their personal circumstances. I know of some businesses that actually did better, but the sad part is they were operating with less staff, but doing a different type of business. The florists, never been busier because no one could go to weddings or funerals or birthdays, so they were sending flowers. The florists were run off their feet. Simply Roses, one of the stories in my book from Up Swan Hill Way, they have dried rose petals. They've been a leader in this and import or export all over the world, sorry. Weddings. The weddings went down. Big events went down. But she'd also been exploring edible flowers. What are people doing at home? They're cooking. They're doing, they're mimicking master chefs. So she upped the sale of her edible flowers. Some people were embarrassed that they were busier than ever. And I know Elise Brown from Fair Dinkum Dog Coats, she already had an online business, a platform she'd converted some years ago. And she was almost embarrassed to tell people how well she'd been doing. At the end of the day, the pandemic has forced us all out of our complacency. We should always be continually scanning the horizon for whatever opportunities and threats are there. But you know what the most positive thing of all is? The local support has improved. It is just highlighted to us the importance of supporting each other, supporting our businesses, and this is something that we can carry on into the future. And so good things and bad things out of the pandemic, Anne-Marie, that I've witnessed.
Fantastic. And we, of course, have the honour of being able to hear some of the stories that are captured in your book with some of those who get to share their story. So thank you so much, Kerry. And so now I would love to introduce you to Michelle Anderson Sims. And you, Michelle, are from Wine in a Glass. So I'm going to remove myself and share your slides and look forward to hearing you share your story.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll just lift up this is the first slide. So Wine in a Glass it was a concept. I'm a single mother of 4, and it was during a holiday to Europe that I came across a concept that I thought would be terrific for the Australian market. So it's a single serve PET, fully recyclable product. And it has a tamper-evident foil seal and replaceable lid. So there were lots of opportunities that I thought were available for the product. The first container was a big success. I imported finished product from America, and the second container was a big failure. So it was from early days, it was quite a journey. The first container, why was it a success? Because the Australian market liked the concept. I'm sure that they liked it feels like glass, it looks like glass, but it's not. It's quite safe. It addressed spiking of drinks, it addressed the glassing incidents, and it's fully reusable as well as 100% food grade recyclable. So lots of advantages. The problem with the pipeline fill was terrific, and then the pipeline fill wasn't there after it. So the second container just didn't sell. And a lot of people that were involved with the business said, no, we're out. So I had to go back to the drawing board, convinced that the concept was something that the market liked. The reason that they didn't like the product was American wine, the Moscato was dry, ours was sweet. We marketed a white Zinfandel, which Australia didn't know. So anyway, just a very brief background on the business. Domestic market, we built up over the years by bringing in a new line and producing Australian wine in the cup. That addressed the problem of the market not liking the American product, just different tastes for different markets. Next slide, please. So this is how it's unique. It's resealable, it's food grade PET, 100% recyclable. We fill 187 ml in Australia. For the Japanese market, it's 175. It looks and feels like real glass, but it's not, with or without the snap-on stem. It's uniquely sealed. It's the only one of its kind in Australia. It has an extensive shelf life. So something in this format, usually you'd see a 3 to 6 month shelf life. So in our whites, 15 to 18 months, and our reds in excess of 2 years. So it's solved a lot of issues out in the market. Other concepts require refrigerated cooling and transport, so this doesn't. We've been able to sustain the quality of the wine even at 39 degrees, so that's been a cost saving for the commercial market. Next slide, please, Emily. So this is where we started our home at Wine in a Glass, started in 40-acre property at Chukamoama, up on the border of New South Wales and Victoria. The transition from rural Victoria to Epping in Melbourne was essential for our business growth and for our survival. And this transition took place smack bang in the middle of the pandemic. So why was that required for the survival was we need to get closer to the ports. And the operational costs to the business weren't sustainable, nearly 3 hours from Melbourne. Next slide, thank you. So during COVID, we moved. So that was one thing that we took an opportunity. We lost 98% of our domestic market due to COVID, as our major channels are events, festivals, hospitality sector. Moving from, interestingly enough, the border to Melbourne, we fell off the government grant supports. So we fell through the holes there, where previously we were classed as a rural tourist venue. So that was, that was a little bit harder than we had hoped. But anyway, we keep pushing forward. You'll see now that we have an A-class filling facility. It's 3 times the size of what we had. You'll see the tanker can actually come indoors now. We had a lot of trouble where we were with millipede infestation, and we couldn't afford those risks any longer. So it's one of the challenges of being rural. And the business was going to succeed, was going to continue to grow, and we needed to give it every opportunity for its growth. Next slide, please. With this growth, so as we lost the domestic market, we had to rethink. So through COVID, we went back to exports. We focused on exports. And with that, we also looked at changing our packaging. See, some of our customers extensively now into exports, which is terrific. Next slide, please. We had to rethink our packaging and focus on export. Lead generation was introduced to major distributors, including the Lotte Group and Costco. So that now you're looking at hundreds of thousands of units a month heading out of Australia into exports as a result of that focus. Next, please. A new package design target the end user market, which was something that we hadn't done previously. And this one here is the pink one there is for the Lotte Group. And that's something that we'll look to now advance into the Australian market. Next slide. We tried something different. We went into sanitizer. We created the brand, a friendly brand, encouraging children to learn good hygiene. The first container again was a big success, and the next 2 containers were kicked off the ship, and we missed the departure, arriving a month late and missing the market. So although we tried, we lost out on that one, but never mind. There we go. That's
fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. As we can see in business, there's ups and there's downs, but one thing there is, as what Diana was saying, it's that entrepreneurial, that business spirit, isn't it, that just keeps us moving forward no matter the challenges. So thank you so much, Michelle, for sharing your story. So the next business who will be speaking to us is Lucy Loretta. So Lucy is the owner of Lucy Loretta Design. So let me introduce you. Lucy, you can share a little bit more about your business and I will get your slides going.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Great to be here. Thanks for having me on. So I'm Lucy Larita. I'm a fashion designer, specialising in women's event wear. Since 2005, I've organically grown my boutique brand within my niche market, celebrating life's special moments with my clients by creating a gown that marks a memorable moment in their life. So when COVID hit, obviously functions stopped. Luckily, I sell interstate to boutiques, so some of them were still open, but very little. Events became much smaller, and so when lockdown hit in 2020, the thought of there is no need for my product crossed my mind. How long can I sustain my business costs was also a concern. So I couldn't sit on that thought for very long. I had to act quickly. Luckily, I was not manufacturing offshore, so I didn't have bulk manufacturing. I don't run my business that way. I'm a locally manufactured designer brand, so that I was able to easily cut costs. So what did I do? I focused on what matters to my clients, and also what was missing in my collection. So what I do best is make women feel comfortable wearing a dress by accentuating their natural beauty using simple classic lines. So I introduced an essential item, a garment to wear when attending smaller events, one to wear day to night. I introduced an essential dress, the basic slip dress. It's not a revolutionary design. It's a classic essential item that was missing from my collection. But it was the delivery of my message that makes it special and unique. The versatility, the size equality, making it accessible to everyone. Adding the slip dress to the collection opened up a new market and kept my brand relevant, keeping me in business. So as well as continue to sell to my existing market. So COVID forced me to think outside my usual creativity. It made me think deeper in terms of my own personal experience and how social interactions affect our mental health. I'm now introducing some new products that are about to launch soon. So I started working on this in conjunction with this slip dress. So I began to work on creating a book of artwork featuring the slip dress, following a woman throughout her day. Each page is dedicated to an empowering message for positive impact through words and art. From this artwork, greeting cards are now also a new product to be launched soon. So each of the artwork is now also will be available in a pack of 10 greeting cards. Again, that was something new to my range, but also something that I'd been hearing was lacking in the market, something that was inspiring and encouraging and empowering. So as you can see, a sneak peek on the screen of the cover of the book, Little Book of Little Perfections. So to encourage us to focus on the little things that matter most. So as a fashion designer, it's important for me to connect my passion for fashion and artistry with humanity. I value and appreciate that I'm in the business of creating trends. With that, there's a responsibility to help improve social interactions so we can be kinder to each other. Social well-being has always been ingrained into my brand. My design aesthetics are based on accessibility and inclusiveness. And also I'm proud to take leaps forward in changing the negative views of the fashion industry. As a Mental Health Foundation Australia ambassador, I believe in small steps by many make huge impact. And so that's all ingrained into my brand. It's not just about creating a gown, it's about reaching people and making a difference to their life and making memorable moments matter. So that's it from me. That's how I've pivoted my business.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so very much for sharing that. And we loved seeing those designs as you were speaking. So thanks so much, Lucy. And what we love too is, how you were able as a fashion designer and then to take that creativity and enter a whole new market, through the book and the designs and,
Yeah,
through
and it was
creative thinking, you were able
something
to.
that I've never done before, because each artwork was created with still using scissors. It was I used paper cutout, but yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing the story there. So our next guest, our next rural entrepreneur is Sarah Moisten. And Sarah, let's introduce you and look forward to having you share your story. Take the floor, Sarah.
Wonderful. Hi, guys. I'm Sarah from Windella Farm. My business produces Australian eco skincare products right here on our farm in Kahuna in Northern Victoria. In short, I founded Windella Farm soon after purchasing our small farm where we were breeding dairy goats. The business itself started from nothing but a desire to turn our little farmlet into an income for myself. I didn't want to work in the corporate world of accounting anymore. Fast forward 6 years, and I've just celebrated the milestone of surviving 12 months of being full-time in the business during a pandemic. The decision to quit my part-time job, build a workshop to scale the business, and truly back myself in the midst of a pandemic might seem a little risky, but in all honesty, I am fairly risk-averse. My business growth over the previous 5 years had been gradual and organic. So, with the lack of any influencer shout-outs or a big marketing budget, I knew that I had grown a business that thrived with genuine customer loyalty and a community of supporters who were invested in the Windella Farm story. 2020, however, threatened to bring it all undone, and initially I was mortified to think that 5 years of blood, sweat and tears, building something from nothing, could be swept out from underneath me due to factors beyond my control. Until that point, the majority of my sales were made at in-person markets and events. My e-commerce store was established, but those sales were secondary to what I was making at markets. Every scheduled event got wiped off the calendar in 2020 and most of them in 2021, so I knew that I had to innovate to survive. The first order of business was to up my social media game. If I couldn't meet with potential customers in person, I had to ensure that I was still sharing the Windella Farm story online. It's the story behind our farm, the goats, the manufacturing process, and what our business stands for that sets us apart from other skincare brands. It's imperative that I'm effectively telling that story through scheduled content that's considered, structured, and professionally executed. I began using a social media calendar to plan and schedule my posts in advance. I engaged my photographer husband to make sure that my imagery was on point. I made sure that content was not purely sales-based, but included value-adding content such as skincare tips, memes, storytelling, and behind-the-scenes content that shares my personality. After all, people invest in brands that they know, like, and trust. Improving the content that I was producing, without a doubt, helped to increase the revenue that I was missing from not being at markets and events. My next priority was a complete rebrand of the business to lift my image from a market stall product to a high quality boutique brand that looked at home in the most stylish of bathrooms and upmarket stores. I worked with a business coach and a graphic design artist to refine my vision and create a complete branding suite that effectively tells the story of our products, Australian made, eco-friendly, cruelty-free, and all natural. I used the time that I'd gained from not being at events to roll out the complete branding package, including new logo, new packaging suppliers, and a professional lookbook and line sheet to secure more wholesale stockists. The new professional branding meant that the packaging was elevated to now match the high-quality product that I was producing. As lockdowns continued much longer than we all expected and more events were wiped from the calendar, I moved into collaboration mode. Strategic collaborations bring together two brands who often service the same market but are not in direct competition. With an exchange of value that results in a win-win for each brand, businesses team up to create something cool and cross-promote to their audiences. I teamed up with an illustrator to create beautiful complementary gift tags to go with our gift packaging on the e-commerce store. I also collaborated with a local artisan to create custom cosmetics bags, which would then become the packaging for my new Spa Day gift sets. I built a relationship with Kimberly from Oak magazine, which evolved into a feature article in issue 10 of her magazine, Windella Farm soaps going out to new subscribers as a free gift with purchase, and even a podcast interview. Collaborations allowed me to create new and exciting products and content, reach new audiences within my target market, and also support other fabulous small businesses. That's a real win-win. Throughout the last 2 years, there's also been many small changes and tweaks that have had the cumulative effect of building brand awareness and fostering customer relationships. I set up a contactless drop box at home, enabling in-store pickups for our online orders. I offered free shipping on orders over $100. I actively requested reviews for Facebook, for Google My Business, and for the e-commerce store. I customized our automated emails to provide an entertaining and memorable customer experience. There were online markets, trade shows, email newsletters, Facebook Lives, and flash sales. If you take away anything from me today, let it be that the best thing you can do in your business is to be authentic and genuine. Yes, we all need to pivot and adapt to change, but geez, I hate that word now. Simply be aware of the changing business landscape and what the consumer wants, and deliver it with authenticity and a smile.
Wow. I'm sure we can all just marvel at all of the things that you did, and you move forward with grace, and loved hearing you share the story. And of course, for those of you who are listening and watching the recording, there are many more stories such as Sarah's and Michelle's and Lucy's in Kerry's book. So before we finish off, we've got one other guest speaker today. Before we finish off, we may invite Kerry back to find out how we can get a copy of her book. So thank you once again, Sarah. So now I'm going to introduce you to our last speaker, and that is Anne Durry. She is the owner of Bakery on Broadway. So as I get the slides set up, welcome to the stage, Anne.
Thanks very much, Anne-Marie, and it's lovely to be here and be included in this podcast. So thank you for inviting me. Just a quick introduction to the bakery. It was, I can't even remember, it's 5 years ago that there was 4 couples decided that we needed to give our small town of Witchyproof a boost. We needed a bakery. Everyone stops at a bakery. So we got together, bought an old building, which was very cheap and just a beautiful old building. So we got together, decided to renovate. It took us nearly 2 years to renovate the building and actually open up, much to everyone's, I don't know, they just didn't think that we'd ever open because it took us so long. None of the owners are bakers or cooks. They all are, have different professions. So that was, a major thing that we thought, we're not bakers, we'll have to get someone in, which we were able to, thankfully. And we've attracted quite a few bakers over the time on visas. So it's been challenging, but very, very good for our town. Witchyproof is halfway between Melbourne and Mildura, so we do get a lot of people stopping that are taking that trip. And when we did open, we thought, what have we done? I can't believe that we're so busy. We didn't think we'd ever be this busy. We were exhausted, but we kept on going. And it's been a successful business. Then COVID came along. We didn't know what we were going to do, how we were going to support the staff. We had 13 staff. So we got together, the owners got together, and we closed for 8 weeks, just not knowing how we were going to keep going. Then, fortunately, we, were able to get JobKeeper for many of the staff, some not so lucky. And they were the staff we had on visa. So we decided that in that 8 weeks, we'd do a renovation, or not so much a renovation, just a big cleanup and sort things out. And we were able to pay out those ones that weren't getting any government help some money. So that was fine. We opened up again, knowing that our staff were going to be paid. And so that we've had some very famous people visit us, Eric Banner. So with each lockdown, you didn't know what to do. We knew we were an essential service and we could be open all the time, but it just wasn't worth being open all the time. So we sort of cut back on hours, we cut back on the staff's hours, but everyone was willing to do that for the business, knowing how good it was. And being takeaway, and a lot of that time was not only hard on us, but hard for the community. We know of a few people that really struggled to get through COVID. There was one lady in particular who just took it so hard. Because the bakery is a place where everyone meets, where everyone just gathers and able to chat to people. You can always talk to someone. So that was particularly hard. After quite a few lockdowns and closures and time where we might have closed for the weekends or we closed on a Wednesday, we decided that better to stay open all the time, just shorten our hours, because it's harder to close a business than keep it open. It's just, you've got your stock, you've got your staff and the community. We wanted to support them. So that's why we decided to just stay open all the time. Then July came. This year it was July, and we knew of a case that went from the football in Melbourne to Mildura that had passed through a few businesses on the way home, when we just thought, oh, it's probably us, but we were hoping it wasn't. Anyway, we found out via Facebook on the day that everyone else found out. So I had Ali Cupper, our member for Mildura, ring me, and our CEO saying, you're it. You're the business that he stopped at. It took Bendigo Health a few days to actually ring us and let us know, but we obviously we shut down that day, and just waited to know what to do. Like, we had no idea. Bullock Shire had remained COVID-free for the whole pandemic. So what we did was we, as a tier 1 site, we knew we had to do a COVID clean. So we had to find someone. There was no one around. And that was a $10,000 job if we were to do that. Fortunately, about 5 days later, we were a tier 2. So, which meant we could clean ourselves. So no one in our town contracted COVID, and our doctor was pleased that we actually were a site, because it gave everyone everyone went up for a test, but also the everyone getting the injections. He said he just couldn't fill the spots. It was just so busy. So during that time that we've been just, opening up, we've just had a lot of interest from the media because of our site. And I've taken advantage of that all the time, and I do take advantage of any media that comes our way, because I think that's a great way to promote. So that's something that is very good. We have introduced a lot of providore goods into the store, just attracting more people. We have books. We've had Carrie Anderson's book, and Kerry, I'd like to tell you that we're nearly sold out of all those books. And we've had Adam McNichol's the Mallee and the Wimmera books for sale. So we've just added things. We've added new children's play area, just a lot of things to help bring the attention. And social media has been an amazing thing. Just keeping up with social media, just making everyone aware of what we're doing. And so we've just, we're still here. That's the best thing, is that we're still here and doing well. Melbourne opened up over the weekend and we were so busy. So I'm grateful for that. And I've loved hearing all your stories today too. So thank you.
Thank you, Anne. My goodness, another wonderful story. I'm bringing you up, Kerry, because as Anne said, your book is available from Bakery on Broadway, but we so love hearing all of the stories from everyone today. And I wonder, can you share with us how we may get a copy of your book, or Australian Rural Entrepreneurs?
Well, my publisher, Wakefield Press, has apparently put it out in bookstores everywhere, but you can also purchase it from my online Carrie Anderson, you can see my name up front, .com.au. So I do sell it through my website as well. But I just, it doesn't matter how many times I hear these stories, I just love, we're adding to them all the time. What was written in the stories it's a growing, evolving business journey. And I just love how we all grow by listening to each other's stories. And that's why I wrote the book. It's not a marketing exercise. It's about sharing the journey, what worked well, what didn't work well. We need to learn from each other and be heartened by that. Success doesn't happen like that. It's a lot of persistence, determination, the fact that they have that vision and are prepared to put themselves out there to do these things. That's what and they're the ordinary people next door. They do not call themselves entrepreneurs. They are people that just see a problem, they solve it. It might be they can't get a job or they can't buy shoes for their kids, so they start doing it themselves. Every story is unique, and I just loved sharing them. So there's certainly 50 stories in this book and others in the previous one, and there'll be more coming along. So yes, thank you, Diana. Oh yes, my little model there.
Wonderful. What I might do is just bring everybody back. If we all just put ourselves on mute, except for Diana, because she is going to give the closing speech here. And what I'm going to try and do is, there we go there. So Diana, take the floor away. Before we do, let me just thank again Anne Durry, Loretta, Carrie Anderson, of course, Sarah Moisten, and Michelle Anderson-Sims. Thank you so very much for sharing your stories. Diana, the floor's yours.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Look, you are an absolute inspiration to all of us. And I cannot say thank you for your journeys, because you will be the trailblazers and you will give the understanding to others who are struggling that there is a way. And your persistence, your doggedness at pursuing far beyond what you thought you possibly could do. And I just salute you. I really do. And I thank Kerry, because it was from her book that I actually got to know you. And I would like to give you, the four of you, I would like to give you free membership to IWFCI for 12 months, where you can put on our website, on the business directory that goes worldwide, that you can put your businesses on that website. I think so much of you all, and I'm here as IWFCI to support you as much as I can, because everyone needs a little bit of help along the way. And your stories, on all those who have been listening to you, are truly inspired by your stories and what it took to turn around everything through the COVID. So I thank you all very, very much, and for your stories. And I will be in contact with each and every one of you to enable you to get onto our website. Thank you so much, and thank you, Anne-Marie, for your wonderful podcasting us and your interaction with all the speakers. Once again, thank you so much. You are indeed an inspiration. Over to you, Anne-Marie.
All right. Well, I think we shall end there. But again, please reach out and get a copy of Kerry's book, because we'll be just inspired, I'm sure, by all of the other stories that are shared in that. So we'll say goodbye, and thanks once again to all of the Australian entrepreneurs, rural entrepreneurs, for sharing their